I am, after the latest trailer for Dune Prophecy, I am officially excited. That new trailer, if you have not seen it, and unfortunately, if we play it here, we'll get copyright struck, but I need to direct you to the Nerd Cookies channel that has been on top of this story. She is, Elaine is doing the maker's work here with coverage. I am excited. It feels like they're telling Dune types of stories in the Dune universe, but with a different set of characters. And I kind of like this. I'll tell you why. Because if they make Dune based on the book Dune series, I know what happens. I know Duke Leto is brutally killed. I know what happens with Paul. There may be variations in the way they tell the story, but if they make it, I know what's going to happen. It's a novel I read 5 times, including listen to audiobook. So I know what happens. I have no idea what's going to happen in Dune Prophecy. And it seems to have the same elements. You have the Bene Gesserit. You've got, of course, the Emperor. You have spice mining and worms. It's the same game pieces, as it were, if you're playing a game, a Dune board game, but it's an outcome we cannot predict with a new set of characters. I am excited based on the new trailer, which unfortunately we're not going to play, but this story from Empire, Dune Prophecy, is in the same universe as Denis Villeneuve's movies. He set the tone. And when you see that trailer, it really looks similar with
What about this picture, Chris? Daniel said that screenshot doesn't inspire me. I as well, because I look at that and I feel like she's about to tell them the power of one, the power of two, and the power of many Bene Gesserits. I'm a little worried. Pattern recognition. Elaine,
okay.
Tell me I'm wrong.
There are so many other images in the new trailer. I, for one, am excited. For those of you that have seen the trailer, which will not play, what do you think? What are your reactions to the trailer?
I haven't seen it yet, but I guess I had a question though. So I'm a Dune newbie. I'm a casual. I know nothing about the universe outside of the movies. So if I were coming into this, like, say, just wanted to learn a little bit more about the universe itself, right? Would this be too much for a newbie to get, or is this all inside baseball for people who are like Dune, fanatics? Is it accessible? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
As far as you know.
I think with Denis Villeneuve's interpretation, which is what the kind of style and that they're going for, as this article confirms, I think they're going to try to still make it accessible, because I feel like those 2 films weren't lore heavy, especially Dune Part 2. There's a lot that was kind of very streamlined, but I think that they're going to try and build out the universe that we were missing. So, but hopefully they do it in a way that's still accessible to, if it's entertaining, and that will be accessible to everybody. But yeah, I have no idea as far as like how the story is going to go. I can't tell you. I can't predict, but it looks good. It looks, especially this latest trailer, because I've been probably the most skeptical about it. It's had a lot of production issues trying to get underway, which if you're a Dune fan, you come to expect production issues. But from what I've seen, the imagery looks good. They've built sets, they film on location. So I think it's definitely more competently made. So the issues that I've had with, like, maybe Rings of Power, The Acolyte, I think there's a lot of good people involved in the production that know what they're doing. And the title card at the end of the trailer, it showed that it was based on Frank Herbert's universe and Brian Herbert's and Kevin J. Anderson prequel novel. But it's going to be an original story for the most part, I believe. But yeah. So
how far removed are they from the movies as far as
like
time?
10,000 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of like a New Republic versus, or High Republic, right? Versus.
They're in the wake of a machine crusade. All AI thinking machines have been purged from the universe, and this is what basically the foundation is of Frank Herbert's world, because these institutions have come to replace the void of technology. So that's why the Bene Gesserit are the way they are. That's why they have these amazing abilities, and why the Spacing Guild operates the way it does. With its navigators, they rely on the spice, so that's why that's so important. You have mentats, which are the human computers, and you have the emperor, the who relies on just make sure the spice flows, and the Landsrad, which also balances that out as far as the power goes. So we have the elements in place, but there's some things that even I can't predict what's going for. Like the Desmond Hart character is an original character, Travis Fimmel, and he's closely connected with the emperor. So I've had some like theories going. I don't know if we're going to see the origin of the Sardaukar, because the way they are, the Sardaukar killers, the famous and infamy that they do hold, that's the reason why the emperor has been able to rule for 10,000 years, or his house has been able to maintain power. And I know a lot of people love the Sardaukar, and if we're going to have some, see the origins of the warrior religion of the Sardaukar, I think that would be cool. But I'm not sure what Travis Fimmel's character has a power, and he's going to use that power to try to take down the Bene Gesserit. So I think that's an intriguing thing, and it's
Probably
far
just immune
removed
to the
enough.
voice, right?
It's far removed enough to where, they use the voice, I think. Yes. It is far removed enough to where I don't think it's going to touch Frank Herbert's. I don't think there's much for them to ruin, hopefully. So I don't have the same concerns for like Rings of Power.
So it's like a High Republic of Star Wars, or
it's Game of Thrones. It is George R.R. Martin really ripped off Frank Herbert and did a like middle-age, inspired fantasy-inspired universe with Game of Thrones. Dune really, when you look at great houses fighting, a battle for the empire, it's got commerce, religion, like economics. What I'm excited about for this show, and I've watched every video of yours, Elaine, is the opportunity to expand the universe. I think part of it, I don't know if this is true, this is speculation, that maybe they wanted a Dune show, but not based on characters created by Herbert. So they just take the world, make a new show with new characters.
So it's kind of all of those things. Like I said before, like
Right.
it's based on Frank Herbert's universe, his institution, what he wrote about this time period. And the Sisterhood of Dune book, which is a prequel novel that Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have written. And that will be the past storyline. So we're going to see young Tula and young Valia Harkonnen, and their backstories will be like inspired by that novel. But 30 years later, we're going to have this present storyline, I guess, with the older, mature Harkonnen sisters and Travis Fimmel and Havigo Carino, Mark Strong's character. So we're going to see these multiple timelines, but all that part is original to this show. So it seems like they want to tell a new story within this, which I kind of applaud, because we've only had Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson to expand upon this world as far as the EU goes. So it'd be kind of interesting. I like the idea of someone else telling a new story within Frank Herbert's world, his Duneverse. It's just been these two, and they're kind of seen as controversial when it comes to. So a lot of the Dune fans view it as fan fiction, which I think is, it's fan fiction based off of a fan fiction EU type thing. So I think Frank Herbert's
that's better as you go.
Yeah. I think Frank Herbert's books will remain untouched. That universe is, and its institution looks like it's all Frank Herbert. This is his world. But as far as like the background of the Brian Herbert stuff, we're going to have that, but it's telling a new story. So it's kind of like all of these things to try to please everybody, I guess. I don't know, but I honestly have no expectations. My expectation is that Frank Herbert didn't write this story, so I'm going to just see what they have in mind for this, and hopefully they'll just remain true to the lore that he did establish for this time period.
Well, I agree with Lord Thoth. I think that this is, I think Dune is better than Game of Thrones. It kind of set the template. It was so far ahead of its time when it was published in 1965. I was at a nerd book show here in Pasadena, and they had the original magazine that the early chapters of Dune were printed in. It was like $6,000. It was like $6,000. It was amazing. But like I've always loved Dune because it was so layered. It's so many more layers. It's so much smarter than Star Wars, which is very normie. Star Wars is like normie genre stuff. And
But Star
Dune
Wars
is
was always meant to be normie. It wasn't meant to be anything
which is
deep.
fine. Which is fine.
Yeah,
But,
and you know, Denis Villeneuve's films are very, like I said before, streamlined and
right.
not very. It gives you the lore, I guess, that you need to enough that you need to be invested in the story. So that's why I'm really excited. Actually, I want to see the rest of these elements and the rest of the world built out, as far as Mentats and as far as like the Sook Doctors. And yes, we're going to get the Bene Gesserit, but also the Landsrat, these other houses and these other planets. Want to see the Spacing Guild. I want to see these explored, and hopefully they'll take that opportunity to do that.
And hopefully,
by the way, the
what this will
expanded
do-
universe way more interesting, Chris. Like not normie. Like they took a lot, make it more complicated.
Yeah, and yes, George Lucas lifted quite a bit from Dune, a lot. In fact, that obviously this is a spoiler, but in Dune Part 2, we learn that Baron Harkonnen is the grandfather to Paul Atreides, very much like Darth Vader Luke relationship. They're also the concept of twins, right? With Children of Dune. There's just so many elements that George Lucas lifted, threw in a blender and made his own, which is okay. You can be inspired, but I'm excited about the world building. I want to know what the ritual is of approaching the Spacing Guild. I want to go to this planet with an army, and I feel like the guild is like they are political, but they stay out of politics. I put that in quotes, right? So they serve all these different various interests. Like, hey, we're just transporting you from one place to the other. That's all we do.
Yeah, as long as the spice flows,
right.
They support whoever does that.
I'm so excited about having areas of the Dune universe explored in depth in episodes, a TV series, so it can breathe. Because really, truly, as much as I love Dune Part 1 and 2, it's cliff notes of the book. It is cliff notes. I think you would agree.
Well, yeah, because otherwise it'd be like an 8-hour movie.
He even admitted when he's talking about the next one that it's not a direct adaptation of the books. It's different. He even says with Shani, the way they end up at the end, it's different circumstances. So, hey, at least he admits it.
Also, yeah. I have to say, man, like I don't mind fan fiction if it's done well. So if it is fan fiction, then as long as it's a good story, then I'm all in.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted from the beginning. I was open to the fact of a new story. And Frank Herbert doesn't elaborate in great detail about this particular time period. But it's such a fascinating, we're all fascinated by it, about this 10,000 years in the wake of this machine purge, because that's what the entire foundation of this universe is based on and why it operates the way it does. So it's a very fascinating area to explore.
Going to be needing it real soon.
Yeah. And I love lore. I want the world building that we missed in the adaptations. I feel like if you're hungry for that, and I think if viewers loved those films and they're hungry for like more of that stuff, they'll check it out. So, and hopefully it's good.
I mean, I just think of the types of stories you could tell in the Dune universe if you have time. For example, you could meet a young we could follow the journey of a young person who gets addicted to spice, is taken under the tutelage of the Spacing Guild to then evolve into one, like a third stage navigator, like a story hundreds of years in the making, right? Like there's so much you could get into the economics and like you were saying, the Sardaukar. How did that happen?
Yeah, I'm interested because they said that the emperor, that he has a tenuous hold on power. So if he can't get spice going, which we see like a harvester sabotaged, that they'll feed him to the worm. And so there's those kinds of power struggles going on and backstabbing. And that's definitely Frank Herbert's world, that there's this time of assassins, this different technologies they're going to have to use in the wake of this machine purge. So it's a lot of interesting things. And I'm interested to see how he secures his hold on power with this new character, Desmond Hart, Travis Fimel's character, because he seems to be right in step with the Emperor and wanting to secure his hold on the galaxy, but also his eyes are set on the Bene Gesserit, and he's aware of the threat they pose, which is very intriguing to me that he knows things that basically they shouldn't know. I guess I don't know why he
can
knows
see
so
the
much about the
future.
Bene Gesserit. Yeah.